Welcome everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to this week's episode of the HO newsletter recaps for the week of December 16th, 2024. Hope you're having a good day. I am here, glad to be back with you. Enjoying the series so far. I do ask, as always, do me a favor and subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate the support, helps me to one day make a couple dollars, so thank you very much in advance. Of course, like the video if you enjoy, drop me a comment if there's anything here you're interested in or if there's anything I missed. Let's go ahead and get started here that you've seen in the background with ScaleTrains. Their first product update is on the SD45s, both the Norfolk and Western schemes flashing by here, but these are in limited availability right now. Here's just a list of the currently available road names and road numbers. A lot of them low stock, especially in the DCC ready versions. I saw some good reviews of these online, looked pretty sharp. It's not their first run of the SD45, but a couple new paint schemes for this run that were released. I didn't end up picking one up, but they looked great. The ones I were looking at was potentially one of the X-Seaboard coastlines here at the bottom, but I didn't end up grabbing one. I took a look when I was over at Lombard Hobbies picking up the Rapido Metra Bud Gallery cars and just decided I didn't need one right now. So potentially if they do another run of these, I might pick one up. But if you picked one up, good choice. Seems like a very solid model as well. Next up is an N scale announcement. Again, not an N scale guy, just we'll highlight it here if it shows up. This is for the N scale version of the Trinity 82-foot reefers. These are similar to the first run in HO scale, if you remember, with the roofline icicles. We talked about this before. The pre-order deadline was back in December for the third run of the HO scale versions of these, which include the standard roofline icicle version similar to the first round, as well as some patched reefers as well. I didn't end up pre-ordering them in this new third run for HO scale because I already have a bunch from the first and second run. Did some reviews on those if you're interested as well. Here's your N scale releases, pretty similar to the original HO scale first release. And another pre-order here coming up, Pullman Standard 5820 covered hoppers. These will be arriving in late January and are pretty sold out for pre-orders. Of course, we'll see some of those become available as pre-orders get canceled and such, but this is a rivet counter model, so you got the extra detail like train line hoses and such, so these look pretty good. Again, Tangent did some very similar models, different road names that I can see, but this should be another good option to add to your fleet. Here's a list of those paint schemes. We saw them flashing by there as well. I did not pre-order any as I'm kind of focusing on locomotives for the moment, but these are some nice pieces of rolling stock as well to add to your roster. Speaking of locomotives that I have pre-ordered, these tunnel motors. So I have one of each of the Rio Grande schemes on pre-order. So the as delivered and then the PTC, the positive traction control version. Some decent differences. You can see the biggest one I notice is the nose length, and you get white handrails on that second version. Here's a little bit of history on these. I'm excited for these to come out. They have done SD40Ts before, but these will be some very nice models as well. Athearn is also coming out, or just came out, with some SD40T-2s in their standard, what used to be the ready-to-roll line. Those came with Econami sound and such. These have the full lock sound V5 and capacitors. And additionally, the big thing, and why I went with this model, even though it's about $100 more expensive, is that the whole drivetrain is hidden in the rear intake section, which I think is really cool. And I've wanted this model for a while just because of that really cool implementation of the drivetrain. But as you can see here in the list, decent amount are either very limited to pre-order here, and some are already fully allocated. So definitely keep an eye out for when these arrive. Should be arriving in late January. So that'll be a very nice locomotive to add in my collection as well. Next up, if you were interested in picking up a gift card for friends or family, definitely get that in soon just to make sure it's all done in time. Should be just digital gift cards. You can print it out and then make a stocking stuffer out of it. Pretty good idea there. Additionally, since ScaleTrains has partnered with Virtual Railfan for cameras as well, they do have some nice shots and have made a 2025 calendar here. So they've got 12 pictures, of course, fan submitted. That's pretty neat. So they got some offerings there if you're interested. And here we've got a billing update for two HO scale models that we've been waiting for quite a while. The GP40s, I got a Milwaukee Road one that should be coming my way. So very excited for that as well. Hope ScaleTrains nails those because Rapido's doing GP40s. Atlas has done GP40s for a while. Athearn's been doing some as well. So if they nail this, that'll definitely put them in a good club. Additionally, the ES44s are coming out with their most recent run. We talked about the paint schemes last week. There's a bunch of the CSX heritage schemes, the first set of 5 or 6 of those, as well as a couple other standard Class 1 road names as well. But good to see those coming out. I know at least the GP40s were delayed a couple of weeks, and they should be billing this week of the 16th. Some upcoming shows they'll be at if you're in the area for any of those as well. And just a reminder here of their Christmas and New Year's hours. We'll go ahead and take a quick look next over at Broadway Limited. All right, over in Broadway Limited for this week, we've got a reminder here on their deadline for the pre-orders for their new GP35. That is this Thursday, December 19th, for delivery coming up in May of 2025. This is a new product for Broadway Limited. They got a decent amount of paint scheme variations, lots of different road-specific detail, which is nice to see as well. So these should be some pretty good models. And of course, they say you can pre-order after the deadline, just first come, first serve basis. But these are coming up just at the end of this week. So if you were thinking about picking one of these up, just a heads up on that order deadline. And another quick update from Broadway Limited, some production samples of the T1A and T1B 284 Berkshires. So a couple different schemes here. These are their first samples. These look pretty sharp. Broadway Limited, of course, has been doing a great job with their steam locomotives. Lots of different releases. The Q2s are actually arriving soon as well. So that'll be a nice model alongside their GP30s. Those should be arriving in dealers probably this week or next week as well. But here's just some of these sample shots. Lots of really nice detail that we can see here. I do like the white outline on this Boston and Maine tender. I just think it really ties it together. Looks pretty sharp. But that's all here for Broadway Limited. We've got a slate of new product announcements for Walthers next to take a look at. All right, and just after I posted the video from last week, Walthers decided to come out with their December new product express, so I just missed it. We'll go ahead and cover it here today. First up, a proto release, the Psycho Pulpwood flat car. A couple different paint schemes here. They do offer a pulpwood load separately. That seems to fit the car really well. Some neat road names here offered. So a decent amount of variety with these. And of course they do have an undecorated version as well. Nice to see that. Next up is another proto release, the 86-foot double door high cube boxcar. Lots of manufacturers seem to be coming out with this recently. Pretty hot item. We've got Tangent and Class 1 Model Works coming out with these. They've already done a couple runs of those. This is Walthers' version here. Proto line, so should have that similar level of detail as well. They do have similar paint schemes to the other manufacturers that they're offering. Just another option here for you. I don't remember pricing wise if these are a better deal, but up to you, of course. If you prefer Walthers just as a brand, you can definitely check them out for this model as well. I personally don't own any 86-foot boxcars. They're a little bit too long for what I'm trying to build with my layout, so I don't think I'll be picking these up. But it's cool to see more of these releases. Lots of cool paint schemes there. And a release that I'm pretty excited for, the Russell Snowplow, also in the Proto line. So they've got some pretty cool offerings. We'll scroll down here and take a look at some of these schemes. I did think at first glance that this Green Mountain scheme was actually the Union Pacific maintenance away, but I was incorrect. But that is a really cool one to see as well. Additionally, here's even more paint schemes. They've got this Jaws version as well as a New Haven model that was actually assisted by the New Haven Railroad Historical and Technical Association, which is really neat. Got some cool details on that one as well. And they do have a pretty standard undecorated version in gray as well that they do call just standard maintenance away version. But these do look pretty cool. That's a release I wasn't expecting. Cool to have a nice other snowplow option here. It's non-powered, so you will need, of course, locomotives to push it along. But I do think that there's a good level of detail on this one from the images here. So it should be a pretty good option. Different headlight options, different roofs, it appears, as well as slightly different grab iron configurations beyond each model. These will be coming around next winter in 2025, so we've got a little bit of time to wait. But of course, arriving in the winter, that's perfect time for these. Moving on, a fourth proto release, the Grand Trunk Western style caboose here. Here's some of those paint schemes. I really like the Canadian National paint scheme they chose here on the bottom left of your screen with the leaf. That's one of my favorite schemes. I don't really see it very often, so it's cool to see. These do have full interiors and underbodies. It just does not appear that they are lighted. And here's a couple more schemes on this caboose as well, and of course undecorated. Walthers is usually pretty good at offering undecorated models for pretty much all of their releases, which is still nice to see because I know a lot of people still make freelance railroads, and that's really cool that they're catering to that as well. Moving on down, we have a mainline release. Here's the 5250 center flow covered hopper. It's a plastics pellet hopper. Some pretty decent features here for a mainline release. We've got a decent number of road names here as well to take a look at. I do have the Shell Plastics paint scheme as a Bachmann Silver Series car, so I might pick up one of those just for myself, just to compare, because I know that the Walthers version will be a little bit better. Just having more metal features and such, but nice paint schemes offered here as well, so definitely a good option for you. I know someone brought up that not a lot of manufacturers are releasing a lot of plastic pellet hoppers, so this could be a good option for you to expand your roster. Again, there's that Shell Plastics model, as well as a pretty neat orange Rio Grande hopper as well that I didn't actually recognize at first glance. Mainline release, you just get the metal couplers and less of those separately applied pieces that you'd get on a proto release. Still a nice boxcar. Good offering here from them as well. Next up, another boxcar, a 40-footer ACF welded boxcar. It's got an 8-foot door on it. Similar levels of detail to the last 50-foot boxcar, just a different body style here. Like that Louisville and Nashville Dixie line boxcar as well at the bottom there. And we'll move a little bit more quickly through these, but we've got some cornerstone releases. We got an open air intermodal shed. Some other pictures for it. Of course, a kit. The cornerstone kits are pretty well known as being, from my understanding, pretty good. I don't own any yet, but I will be picking some up eventually once I build a more formal layout. Here's a transload facility. Got a safety system here, sort of where you clip in when you're wearing a harness to walk on the top of those cars. And of course, you can pick up some of those figures separately. They're not included. Here is that kit. So 2 walkways and 2 sort of clip-in rails. Next up, we've got a corn syrup unloading facility. It's pretty neat. You got like a shipping container outside as well as some barrels, a larger shipping container, sort of a mobile office sort of kit there as well. Definitely the most complex we've seen so far. You can buy, apologies, what they call the boiler house, that smaller green container separately as well. There's that mobile office. And you can buy utility augers as well. see these all across on farms and such, so it'd be cool just to pick some up. You don't even have to put them by the structure. You could just keep them scattered around on a farm, and it would really fit in, honestly. Here's a belt transloader as well. This can be varied in terms of the angle that you can place the angled section at. Additionally, here's some separate pavement pieces. So this is a whole kit, comes with a different variety of pieces here, as you can see, that'll fit right in. In a Scene Master item, we've got dry bulk trailers, keeping with the transload theme. A couple different options there as well. And here's your trackside workers that you can use to staff your big transload facility that you've just built with all these new releases. That's all here from Walthers. Let's go ahead and move on over to Athearn. All right, next up is the Athearn Dispatcher. A lot of these items, I will preface, we have taken a look at before, so we won't spend a ton of time on them. We'll just review them here once again. Got the SW1500 switcher. Some pretty neat schemes here, as we talked about last week. I love that Great Northern one that was just flashing by in the Big Sky Blue. This is in the standard Athearn line, the old ready to roll. So it'll come DCC ready or with economy sound. Nothing wrong with that, just limited functions. Might pick one up and could pair it up even with the Milwaukee Road MP15 I just did a review on as well. So could be a little my railroad type of mat lash up. Next up, we've got another Athearn release, the AC4400. Here's some of those schemes flashing by. And I did want to mention here, because there was a little bit of confusion, that scheme there, the 4822 Norfolk Southern Tribute to Our Railroaders, this is not the correct model to be on. It should be on a C6M, but Athearn has not made that model yet. ScaleTrains is actually coming out with the C6Ms. Should be coming up in the first half of this next year, actually. But ScaleTrains has mentioned through a viewer that commented, let me know that there's too many detail variations for them to offer it within the same release as sort of other ones that they're currently doing. So it might be for a future release because there's so many road specific details or road number specific details, excuse me, that are on that model that require that sort of detail. That's there for you for the ScaleTrains release, of course, with AC4400s. But a model here that is now in stock, the ready to roll Trinity spine cars. This release just has 3 schemes. So we've got TTX as well as a Prime for Grind version and BNSF all 2010 era. Definitely take a look at your dealer if you're looking to pick some of those up because those tend to go quickly as well. Pretty much as fast as the Bowser spine cars that I've noticed. Then we've got a Ford box truck as well. Some pretty neat schemes offered here as well. This is all of them flashing by. So if you're interested in picking some up, this is a good option for you. And something that we talked about last week, a bunch of canceled orders. So I'll just move through a little bit and not spend too much time since we already talked about it. So these were announced in March. They've got 2 Athearn HO releases and 2 N-scale releases, not Genesis line, just the old ready to roll. They got a 50-foot double door boxcar and 60-foot smooth side high cube, and then 2 gondolas, a 65-footer and 52-footer in N-scale that were canceled. Here's a list of all of those product SKUs in case you had picked up one of these or had pre-ordered one. Just a heads up that this run has been canceled. And a little reminder here, they are now doing an Athearn ornament in that F7 scheme that they're offering in both the new Roundhouse release of the F7s as well. So if you're interested in the ornament or that locomotive, you can pick that up. There's a nice caboose shot there. And an update on Athearn's holiday hours as well. And another manufacturer, just wanted to highlight real quick, is Home Shops LLC. I know we haven't talked about them before, and this video will be a little bit shorter since there wasn't as much to cover today, but here's just an update of a new model they have in stock. So Home Shops does custom work. They'll pick up a model, in this case an Intermountain auto rack, and then have orders come in to make custom rolling stock or locomotives for specific people's freelance railroads. Or they'll just make some that are just their own choosing here. We've got a couple schemes here. We've got Ohio Southern and two Virginian and Ohio schemes. Pretty cool offerings. Intermountain auto racks I've heard are pretty decent. They do have a holiday special if you're interested in picking those up as well. Here's a list. They have a couple road names in each scheme. There's your Ohio and Southern, and two options for the Virginia and Ohio. Got large lettering and small lettering that we saw at the top of the page. They do, of course, come in a little bit more expensive than the single models, but again, they're completely custom, so it's pretty cool to see. There's that holiday special once again. And with that, I'll go ahead and close out today's episode. Wasn't a super long one. There wasn't as many manufacturers to run through, but still some pretty cool, exciting announcements, new things coming up soon as well. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did make it this far, consider subscribing. It really means a lot, so thank you so much. Like the video if you enjoyed, drop me a comment. If you'd like to chat about anything, love going through and responding to you guys. But with that, I hope you have a great rest of your week.